In the opening scene, we see an American football game where Mike Hansen and his Whalers teammates are playing. The game is between the Whalers and Stallions, and Mike's fans are glad to have him back. Jimmy, Mike's brother, and his wife, Danielle, sit to watch the game. They are joined by their daughter, Zoe, who asks if her grandmother will be joining them too, but she discovers she will be watching the game at a pub with her friends. Meanwhile, Gertie and her friends are watching the game while she boasts about being the one who taught Mike everything he knows. The commentators, Roy and Al, mirror the fans' joy in having Mike back after recovering from his injury last year. They reveal that Mike was sure that he was going to win, and they also bring up the topic of Mike being single, which is a relief to his female fans. Back at Jimmy's place, Danielle wonders if Mike was always popular with ladies, to which Jimmy replies that he was, even though Mike himself didn't notice. Meanwhile, Erin is working on a listing when her daughter, Kira, goes downstairs to watch the football game. Kira knows her mother isn't a Whalers fan, since she's from Dallas. The game begins and it seems to be going well, until Mike stops a 34-yard ball. He gets injured when other players grab the ball. Sadly, unable to get up from the ground, his return to the game is short-lived. Meanwhile, Gertie feels bad for her son and plans on calling the mother of the player who injured Mike. But her friend, Gus, hides the phone before she finds it. Jimmy and his family are also worried about Mike, hoping he's fine. Back at Erin's house, Erin finds out from Kira that Mike got hurt. She's thankful that her daughter plays flag football, which doesn't involve tackling. Kira reminds her mother that she tackled Lucas, her teammate, which resulted in her getting benched. She knows her team doesn't like her because she's a girl. Kira also mentions that her father could have been the coach if he stayed. Erin sits with Kira and hugs her. In the next scene, Mike tries to convince the paramedic and his coach that he can play with a broken rib, but the paramedic is against it. He asks for a painkiller, but the paramedic knows it won't suffice. Eventually, Mike persuades his coach. The paramedic gives Mike the painkiller and he claims to be feeling better. His coach throws a ball for him and he catches it while wincing due to the pain. The paramedic suggests taking more tests the next day, revealing that it could take more than a month for him to heal. Mike is asked to focus on resting and going through physical therapy, but he doesn't want to be left out of the team for a month. The coach assures Mike that they are not giving up on him. In the next scene, Mike gets a call from Richard, his agent. Mike wants to get back on the field, so Richard asks if he wants to return as a Whale. This question makes Mike think that the team wants to trade him, but Richard says he's just getting ready for whatever comes their way. After the call ends, Mike checks what is being said online. The comments are against him, some even suggesting that he retire. Meanwhile, Jimmy sees the comments and thinks it's too harsh, considering that Mike is passionate about the team. Zoe, who is wearing a Whalers jersey, leaves for school. Jimmy replies to all the posts he finds to support his brother. In the next scene, Erin calls for Kira so that she can drop her at school on time, and for football practice after. She wants to talk with Kira's coach, but Kira refuses. Erin agrees to not talk with him except when it's necessary. Later on, Erin is at a property with her colleague, Georgina, who asks why she keeps turning down guys. Erin fakes a call to escape talking about it. Georgina isn't buying the act, but decides to play along. At Jimmy's house, Jimmy is leaving for practice and video calls Mike to check on him. Mike assures him that he's fine and shows him the gifts he got from his fans. Jimmy knows that he's not fine, so he asks Mike to stay with him for a month since his team would be gone for that long. Mike refuses at first but later accepts the offer. Jimmy tells him to head to the middle school field to watch Zoe practice. In the next scene, Kira is late for practice. Erin isn't close to the other parents, so she sits a little far from them. Throughout the game, Kira is completely ignored by her teammates, who refuse to pass the ball to her. She only gets to touch the ball when it lands on the floor. She notices an all-girl football team practicing on the field and tells her coach that she wants to join the team. He reminds her that they're not playing pro football, so she can't be traded. Kira walks up to Erin and tells her that she wants to be on the other team, asking her to talk to the coach. Her mother obliges. She realizes that Kira needs to leave the team, after seeing the coach's nonchalant behavior towards them. Erin takes Kira to the other team and talks with the coach, who turns out to be Jimmy. He gladly accepts Kira and asks Zoe to practice with her. It turns out that Zoe had gone through the same thing, which is why Jimmy and some parents started a girl team. She offers to help out with anything except coaching, because she finds the flag rules confusing. Jimmy mentions that the rules are confusing even to his brother, who's a pro football player. He reveals that Mike is his brother and she asks how he's doing. When Mike arrives, Zoe and Kira run up to him. Jimmy introduces Kira as a new member of their team. Kira and Zoe run back to the field and Jimmy introduces him to Erin, but they already know each other because she dated Mike in college. Jimmy realizes that she's the girl who broke Mike's heart, but she denies being the one. Mike admits that she did indeed break his heart and leaves to watch the practice. Jimmy joins the girls on the field and Erin takes her foldable chair to mingle with the parents of Kira's new teammates, who seem more welcoming. Mike keeps stealing glances at Erin and she notices. She leaves to get a chair for him and he thanks her. He tries to start a conversation with her, but is constantly interrupted by Jimmy's whistle. She then takes her seat close to him so that she can hear him. Mike finds out that she moved to Chestnut Creek when Kira was born. He asks if she's married, but she reveals that she's been divorced for 3 years and she believes it was for the best. Erin thinks that breaking up with him is the best way to help him live the dream, but she doesn't really know anything about his dream. Their conversation is cut short when Erin sees a bee and runs away. After practice, Kira asks if they can join the team for pizza and Erin agrees, wanting to spend more time with Mike. In the next scene, Erin and Kira join the team at the restaurant after stopping at their home. Erin doesn't see Mike and concludes that he has returned to Santa Clara, where he lives, but Mike shows up. Kira introduces herself to him and he introduces himself, but everyone in the restaurant already knows him. Kira feels bad that he got hurt even though she's a Stallions fan, like her mother. He's puzzled because he remembers Erin being a huge Whalers fan, but she says that she was just trying to fit in. Kira is surprised that they know each other, so Erin explains that they went to the same college. Kira leaves to join her new teammates and Mike comments that she's a good kid. Erin states that Kira is her whole heart. Mike asks if there's no room for anything else, so she replies that it's the same for him and football. Mike is disappointed that she thinks he only cares about football. He ends the conversation and tries to help Jimmy, but Erin decides to help instead since he's hurt. However, Jimmy doesn't need any help and returns to the table. Meanwhile, Erin goes through her photos to look at a picture she took with Mike in college. The next day, Georgina notices that something is off about Erin, so Erin informs her that she ran into Mike at Kira's practice. She's disappointed when Georgina doesn't give a dramatic reaction. This is because Georgina knows that he's in town, thanks to her cousin who's a fan of Mike, adding that there's a bunch of women driving around to look for him. Erin reveals that Mike claims that she broke his heart, and this is when Georgina is finally intrigued. She asks for details of what Erin talked about with Mike. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Danielle are also drilling Mike for information. In the next scene, Erin and Georgina attend a football fundraiser meeting, where Danielle is also present. The flag championship is in 4 weeks and the money-making events taking place during the game need to be planned. Meanwhile, Mike is on the phone with his coach and he sounds desperate to keep his spot. When the call ends, he recalls the memories from when he became a legend. Jimmy joins him and points out that there's a lot of touchdowns in the end zone. Mike commends Jimmy for being the best blocking tight end, but Jimmy replies that the schools didn't think he was that good. Jimmy reminds Mike that he can still get a ring on injury reserve, but agrees it won't be the same as being on the field. Back at the fundraiser meeting, Christina, the leader of the fundraiser, reveals that they've taken care of everything except the big-ticket money-maker for Saturday. Danielle suggests asking Mike to sign some jerseys and footballs, as well as taking pictures with fans, but Christina doesn't believe that Danielle knows him personally. Georgina nudges Erin to do it, so Erin announces that she'll talk to Mike since she knows him, drawing Danielle's attention. Christina doesn't believe Erin either, but wishes her good luck. After the meeting, Georgina leaves to attend to a customer. Danielle introduces herself to Erin as Mike's sister-in-law and asks how Erin knows Mike. Erin realizes that Danielle is Jimmy's wife. She reveals that she's college friends with Mike. They agree that Danielle should be the one to ask Mike, but Danielle admits needing help with the raffle Christina put her in charge of. Erin agrees to help and Danielle invites her to the fire pit they're having in her backyard, saying she could bring Kira. Erin wants to know if Mike will be there, but doesn't ask directly. Danielle knows that she's curious, but doesn't mention Mike when listing the names of people who are going to be there. In the next scene, Danielle asks Mike to sign the jerseys and he agrees to do it. Zoe asks if they will be allowed to play during the championship, but Jimmy can only guarantee that Whalers would play for the title. Later, Danielle instructs them to move back as to make more room for the rest of the guests, but she doesn't mention Erin when telling Mike. She claims it's one of the flag moms who's helping her with the raffle. Just then, Erin and Kira show up and Mike is caught off guard. Zoe and Kira leave to play with the ball and Danielle announces that she's going to make some hot buttered rum. This is a hidden signal to Jimmy, which means it's time to leave Erin and Mike together, alone, but Jimmy doesn't catch on as fast as Danielle hopes. Jimmy stands up to leave with her when Gertie and Gus arrive. Once again, Danielle asks them to help her reorganize the pantry and Gertie immediately agrees, taking Gus with her. Erin is offered a beer by Mike, then she gets up to put more wood in the fire. Mike tries to help but gets stuck as he's hit by the pain from his broken rib. So, she helps him back onto his chair. Meanwhile, Danielle, Jimmy, Gus, and Gertie are actually watching all of this happen. They plan to spy on them throughout the night, which makes Gertie, who was excited to arrange the kitchen, disappointed, but she joins them anyway. Back at the fire, Mike asks if Erin went ahead to become a physical therapist. She reveals she decided to go into real estate after getting divorced. The agency she created with Georgina is also doing well. Mike doesn't know what the future holds for him because he got hurt twice. Everything was supposed to fall in line for him, and it was all he could think of, until he saw Erin again. She assures him that he'll forget about her once he gets back on the team. This statement leads to them talking about their past, which opens old wounds. They decide to end the conversation and she promises to steer clear while he's in town. She leaves to say goodbye to Danielle and Jimmy, but sees them sitting on the sofa, sad, while Gertie and Gus are knocked out on the couch. Mike walks in asking for chocolates for the girls and also sees them looking dejected. It turns out that Jimmy has been offered the position of assistant coach for the high school, but it means that he would have to stop coaching the girls. It's been his dream to be a coach for the school, but now that the opportunity is here, he doesn't know what to do. Danielle suggests that Mike coach the girls while Aaron and her will be his assistants. Aaron asks to speak with Mike and they leave for some privacy. They agree to be friends, only so they can help the girls without their past getting in the way. After this, Mike and Aaron inform Jimmy and Danielle that they'll help. In the next scene, Jimmy introduces Mike to the girls as their new coach and informs them that he'll be at their game on Sunday, but till then, they have to listen to Mike. They put their hands together and start counting to 3. But Aaron warns Mike not to join in on the chant. Aaron points out Mike's outfit and he asks if she needs some Whaler gears. They make a joke about it but are interrupted by a bee. Mike gets the rulebook and goes through it. He gets confused and is taught some of the rules by the girls. He asks how they avoid tackles, so they point out that they don't tackle in flag football, they just pull the flag. Kira admits that she forgets to avoid getting her flag pulled when she gets the ball, so he suggests that they practice dodging. They ask him to show them how to evade, but before that, Aaron reminds him to be careful. Mike then shows them the steps and makes them try it out. After practice, Kira and Aaron are leaving when she informs the kid that they have some lasagna in the fridge. Just then, Mike calls Aaron from over the fence, asking if he could get a ride to Jimmy's place. She agrees to take him and Kira invites him for dinner. Aaron tries to dissuade him from accepting and Mike catches on, but Kira continues insisting. Aaron finally agrees and invites him to join them for dinner. In the next scene, Mike and Kira go over the formation for the game while Aaron brings the lasagna out of the oven. Kira doesn't like the formation because she doesn't get to catch the ball, so Mike tells her that it's about winning, and not about who gets to catch the ball. Kira asks if he misses being on the team and he admits that he does, but he also enjoys coaching the girls. Aaron, who's been listening to their conversation, walks in with the food. After dinner, Aaron walks Mike out of the house. He thanks her for having him for dinner even though she was coerced. Aaron sees a football and performs a long throw for Mike, which he catches. He takes the credit for teaching her how to throw the ball. Aaron denies it at first, but later admits that he had indeed taught her how to throw the ball. He remembers not wanting to leave her that day and she mentions that he won a bowl that night, so it was a big deal, but Mike says that it's not why he left. Just then, Jimmy arrives and Mike thanks her for the dinner again, reluctantly getting in the car when all he wants to do is stay with her. Aaron smiles when he says that he doesn't want to leave and watches as the car drifts off. In the next scene, Aaron and Kira join Mike's family to watch the game between the Whalers and the Devils. Aaron is worried about Mike and keeps staring at him. Just then, the Whalers drop the ball before they could score a touchdown. When the commentators state that they are missing Mike, he leaves the room when they mention that he may be traded if he doesn't recover soon. Jimmy gestures to Aaron to go after Mike and she does. Seconds later, Aaron assures Mike that it's going to be okay, but he doesn't think so. He's worried that the team won't make the playoffs, but Aaron tells him to focus on his recovery. He confesses that it's hard to focus on healing when he's thinking about her, but she doesn't want to hear it, because he'll soon return to the team and it'll be for nothing if they get together. Mike reveals that his life is good when he's on the field, but when he's off the field, his life is similar to what it is now. He then leans in and kisses her. Jimmy and Danielle see this and feel a sense of victory. However, Aaron slightly pushes Mike away, ending the kiss. She apologizes and he does the same, but they eventually admit that they are not sorry for the kiss. They notice Jimmy and Danielle's presence, so the couple leaves as soon as they are spotted. In the next scene, Danielle, Aaron, and Georgina put up flyers for the fundraiser. Georgina leaves to put up flyers in other stores. Just then, Christina joins Aaron and Danielle, commending them for their effort on the raffle. She notices that the flyer doesn't say anything about Mike being there, and tries to mock them, but Aaron puts up a sticker that says Mike will be a special guest. Christina backpedals and claims that she knew they could do it, giving them 2 thumbs up before leaving. At football practice, Mike trains the girls to catch bad passes with Zoe throwing the ball. Danielle and Aaron arrive at the scene and notice the way Zoe is throwing the ball. They become worried, but he informs them that it's just a bad pass drill, which makes them feel relieved. He ends the training and returns to the women to ask Aaron if she has any plans, and she replies that she's having dinner with Kira. Danielle informs Aaron that Zoe invited the girls for a sleepover, which means Aaron is actually free. She agrees to let Kira go and Mike asks her to come with him to the charity event he got invited to. Mike also asks her to put on her country western gear and she agrees. She can't help but be curious as to why he asked her to wear that outfit, but he just tells her that she'll see why. In the next scene, Aaron gets dressed and Kira goes downstairs wearing her Stallions gear to troll her coaches. Kira asks her mom if she's going on a date with Mike, but Aaron assures her that it's not a date. Aaron uses that opportunity to ask if Kira would be okay with her dating someone and Kira replies that it's fine with her. Aaron feels blessed to have an understanding daughter like Kira, so she hugs her. Aaron and Kira arrive at Jimmy's house. The girls run upstairs leaving Mike and Aaron alone. He tells her that she looks beautiful and she compliments him too. She notices that he's wearing a tie she hated when they were dating, but avoids talking about it. Aaron is worried that he won't be able to walk, but he reassures her that a dance won't be too straining for him. The charity event turns out to be full of old people in cowboy outfits. Gertie and Gus welcome Mike and Erin to the event. Erin tries to introduce herself to Gertie, but Gertie knows who she is and warns her to not break her son's heart twice. Erin is shocked and explains that she didn't do it on purpose, but Gertie doesn't believe it. The dance music comes on and Gertie takes Gus with her, making sure Erin knows she's watching her. Erin feels threatened by Gertie. Mike then asks her to dance with him, pleading with her to go easy on him. They dance along to the rhythms and beats, enjoying each other's presence. In the next scene, Mike thanks Erin for driving them to and fro. He asks if he'll see her at the game the next day, but realizes that she'll be there as a team mom. Yet again, Erin sees Jimmy and Danielle watching them through the blinds and she mentions that it's like their first date. Mike remembers them being watched by Erin's dorm mates on their first date, similar to what's happening at that moment. He kisses her on the cheek and tells her goodnight before heading inside. Danielle and Jimmy pretend like they aren't spying on them as soon as Mike turns around. When Mike walks into the house, they pretend like they're tidying up, but Mike knows what's going on, so he advises them to improve on their spying tactics before Zoe starts dating. The next day, Erin and Georgina finish showing a couple around one of the houses, and Georgina calls Erin out for making mistakes. Erin admits that she's been distracted lately, which makes Georgina suspect that she's in love, but Erin denies it. Still, she continues talking about him. She finally realizes how she feels about him when Georgina correctly guesses that she's counting down the minutes to see him again. Erin can't stop smiling while Georgina teases her. In the next scene, Kira sees her old team and is worried that she'll make a mistake. She tries to bail out of the game, but Mike understands that she is scared, so he makes her feel better. After the course of them, the Whalers win against the Bucks, Kira's old team. Gertie is proud of the girls and claims that Zoe gets all her strength from her. Jimmy congratulates Mike for the win and Erin walks up to him to thank him for helping Kira. Just then, Richard shows up and Erin's smile fades. Mike introduces Richard to Erin, reminding him that she is his college girlfriend. She greets Richard and makes up an excuse to leave. Mike notices and finds it weird. It seems like something went on between Richard and Erin in the past. In the next scene, Mike helps Erin set up a banner of the fundraiser on the field and once again she thanks him for coaching the girls, as well as helping out with the fundraiser. They both hope the girls win their next game, so that they can play at the championship. Mike has already recovered and decides to prove it to her by catching a ball she throws. She then jumps on him and he catches her too, spinning her around before dropping her on her feet. This eventually leads to them kissing. Erin asks if he'll be returning to the team soon and he informs that he'll be able to join the team in 2 weeks, after passing a physical test. Erin worries that their relationship will end, but he says that they don't have to end their relationship. Jimmy interrupts and asks them to leave the field, since practice will soon begin. In the next scene, the girls are playing against another team and they are on the verge of losing. Kira scores a touchdown which increases the team's points to 32, while the other team is at 34. There's still some time left, so Mike calls the girls to go over their strategy. Gus spots a tall kid, Lincoln, and he doesn't believe that the boy is 12 years old. But Danielle knows that Lincoln is indeed a kid. Gertie doesn't care about the boy because she believes that Kira and Zoe will do good. The game resumes and Lincoln steps in front of Kira, catching the ball and scoring a touchdown. The girls lose the game and their spirits are shattered. The team goes to the pizza restaurant and Mike encourages the girls not to feel down because they lost. He tells them that the team is more like a family, one that should remain a family regardless of winning or losing. Zoe agrees with him and he shakes her hand before sitting down with the other adults. In the next scene, Erin is at a bake sale when Gertie and her friends show up with pastries. Gertie is glad that Erin is helping Zoe, Kira, and the girls live their dream, so she decides to help. She also thanks Erin for making Mike happy again, even if Erin doesn't think she will. After an awkward silence, Erin asks if Gertie is going to threaten her again, but Gertie has no intention of doing that. Erin sees Kira and hugs her, knowing she wanted to play in the championship. Kira asks if Mike will be coaching them for the next season. We find out that Mike can manage some off-season conditioning with them. Just then, Jimmy and Danielle show up with the news. One of the kids from the last team they played lied about his age, but it isn't Lincoln. The team was disqualified, which puts the girls back on for the championship, which is starting in an hour. The girls run home to get their gear. Kira and the others return to the stadium and Kira asks Erin if her father will be coming too, but Erin tells her that he won't be able to make it since it was last minute. Kira feels disappointed. Meanwhile, the stadium is full and Mike gives the girls some words of encouragement before they run off to start the game. Richard joins Mike and informs him that he needs to return to the team facility to prepare for a game happening the next day. Mike doesn't want to leave the girls, but Jimmy says that he's done a good job with the girls and should return to his real job. Mike asks for an hour more after looking at Erin. Richard blames Erin for distracting Mike, but Erin is not going to believe him like she did back in college. She makes it clear that she won't be walking away this time and is sure that Mike won't leave too. He tells her that Mike has to play the next day. Richard decides to tell her that Mike is being traded and lies that Mike is aware of this, which makes Erin upset. Richard then leaves to get Mike and gives him a minute to talk with Erin. Mike is sure that they'll be able to make the relationship work out, but Erin says they need to put it on hold. Mike is surprised that she's leaving him again. Her only response is wishing him good luck. Disappointed, he turns and leaves with Richard. Erin tries to pick something up but gets stung by a bee. She places some ice on where she got stung and watches Mike leave. Later, Mike still can't wrap his head around the fact that Erin is leaving him again, but Richard insists that he focus on the game instead. Mike thinks it's the draft day repeating itself, and this is when Richard slips up. Mike realizes that Richard was the reason she left him on draft day and demands that they turn around, but Richard refuses. He calls Erin but she doesn't pick up, so he calls Danielle to give the phone to Erin, but she is at the scoreboard, far from Erin. Just then, Kira scores a touchdown. The connection starts breaking and Danielle ends the call. Mike asks her to tell Erin that he's not being traded, but she already hung up. Richard informs Mike that he is indeed being traded, which makes him upset since he wasn't aware of this. Richard claims to be looking out for Mike by trading him, but Mike scoffs at his pretentious attitude. Back at the game, Jimmy and the girls are ready for the last game. Just then, Jimmy gets a call from Mike, and so he asks for advice on how they can score a 2-point conversion. Mike suggests a strategy that doesn't involve Kira catching the ball. Kira is okay with the plan and the girls go back on the field after chanting their team name, Whalers. The game starts and the strategy goes well with them scoring a touchdown, making them the winners. The crowd erupts in celebration and applauds the girls, who also celebrate. In the next scene, the team gathers at the restaurant. Mike is blowing up everyone's phone trying to talk to Erin. They plead with her to talk to him but she refuses, claiming that it wasn't meant to be, which is fine. The news that Mike has been activated comes up on TV. Georgina knows she's not fine. Erin expresses how she doesn't want Kira to have two fathers that she can't count on. The fact that he's getting traded makes it hard for her to change her mind, despite all the advice she is getting from them. They all know that Mike loves her and she does too. Gertie threatens to show up as a ghost at all of Erin's houses, making sure she doesn't sell anything if she doesn't talk to Mike. Erin can't help but smile after hearing this. In the next scene, the Whalers play against the Stallions. The game is about to end and the Whalers are at a score point of 21, while the Stallions are at 22. The coach shows a strategy for Mike to make the touchdown, but Mike suggests that he acts as a decoy while one of his teammates throws to the other one at the end post, scoring a touchdown. The coach likes the idea and decides to go with it. Meanwhile, Jimmy, Danielle, Gertie, Gus, Zoe, and Kira is watching the football match at Jimmy's house. Everyone is expecting Mike to be the one to score the touchdown since the team needs to win. The game goes as planned with Mike drawing the other team's defense out of the way, leaving his teammate open to score the touchdown. The crowd erupts and cheers as the team jumps in celebration. After the game, Richard meets with Mike on his way backstage. He believes that they would have gotten more out of the trade if Mike had caught the ball, but Mike has already made up his mind to stay with his team, firing Richard in the process. Mike is interviewed on the strategy he came up with and he uses that opportunity to announce that he's not being traded. He looks up and sees Erin wearing a jersey with his number, 88, on it. He excuses himself and asks the security to bring her backstage. He's happy to see her and she tells him that she's his fan. Mike informs her once again that he's not being traded, which is good news to Erin. She apologizes for walking away from him without talking to him. He wonders what made her change her mind and she shows him the bee sting, which is not as bad as she expected it to be. Mike realizes that what he was missing was not a ring from winning the championship, but a ring for Erin. She brings out the medal the girls had won, claiming that he won a championship. He professes his love for her and she does the same as they lean in for a kiss. In the last scene, Jimmy and Mike's family as well as Erin, Georgina, and Kira toast to the Whalers. Erin tries to reassure Kira that they may be fans of the Stallions next year, but Kira has already grown to be a Whalers fan. Erin smiles as she hugs Mike before they sit down and join the others to feast.